Welcome to another Tulsa City County Library Virtual Renaissance Fair video. Now, remember, boys and girls, the theme for the summer reading program is Imagine Your Story. So I have an imaginer of stories to interview today. Everybody give a big round of applause for William Shakespeare. Yay!
Gramercy, Gramercy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Shakespeare, big fan. I love everything you've written. Oh my gosh. Do you have a favorite play of yours?
I do. My favorite play is Much Ado About Nothing. It's a very fun little play where the comedy can really be stretched.
That's my favorite too. So you were instrumental in creating a lot of words and phrases in the English language. Do you want to tell us about some of those?
It would be my pleasure to tell you about some of them. When you reach a point in language where the word that you're looking for, the explanation or the description that you're looking for doesn't exist, or doesn't exist in the way you want it, you have to invent it. And that's where I invented a lot of phrases that are used today. Green-eyed monster, talking about jealousy. The word gloomy, very nice and descriptive. Bedazzled, which some of you might do to your phones.
You're also a master of poetry. Now, how many sonnets did you write? Tell me again.
I wrote 154 sonnets.
That is a lot. And they're numbered, right? They don't have names?
They are numbered. They don't so much have names because the purpose of the sonnet is that 14-line structure. And that is where everything takes place. So if I were to name a sonnet, instead of just assign it a number, then I've already given away part of the trick. The way a sonnet works, it does set up 12 lining rhymes, and then the final two rhymes turn the entire sonnet on its head, and the meaning actually comes out then. So if I entitled it, I'd give away the punchline before the joke was said.
Makes sense, makes sense. Now, it's funny that you couch it in terms of comedy, because you're also pretty funny. Like, you're known as much for your comedies as your tragedies. What do you think is the funniest scene that you have done?
My favorite scene is where Benedict, character in Much Ado About Nothing, is overhearing his love, Beatrice, confess her love for him. And there's this lovely comedic play where we get to see his reactions to everything that's being said. And we get to then later on see her reactions when he confesses his love for her. And so this play between these two characters hearing the same thing, but getting the raw reactions as they're trying to remain hidden while reacting to these strong feelings. It's very humorous, and I love that particular bit.
Now, another thing that you're famous for is your Globe Theater. Please tell us more about that.
The Globe Theater is the theater that I own part of because of our company of players. We each own a stake of the company and therefore the building, but this building was actually the second theater that we worked with, the first one being the theater. But then there was one instance where it burned down and we had to rebuild it. There was one instance where we actually had to deconstruct the theater and move it because our landlord decided to raise the rates. But that theater does reflect where plays came from, the in-yard feel. We have the stage, and then right around the stage is the place where the groundlings would stand, the people who paid the least to be a part of the play. And then 3 levels of seating from there, depending on how much you wanted to pay. For a more comfortable seat, for maybe the secret entrance for those who pay the most. So that is my pride and joy, and that is where we would practice and live and perform our plays and work and hone our craft.
And it's a beautiful craft. You do such a great job of it. Mr. Shakespeare, can I call you William? William, thanks for talking with us today. Like I said, I'm a huge fan. Now, I'm going to wave my magic hands again, and Shakespeare's gonna go away. And then I am going to take this opportunity to speak with David, the actor behind Shakespeare at the Oklahoma Renaissance Festival. David, thanks for getting all dressed up and talking with me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be able to talk about this stuff. Whew.
So yeah, Shakespeare is one of my favorite parts of the Oklahoma Renaissance Festival. Do you have a favorite part yourself?
My favorite part is actually what I end up doing in the streets with the patrons, and that is actually giving them a time to shine. The bits that I normally use are going to be ones that actually have the patron coming up with all of the funny, creative things. And I'm merely a vehicle then to allow them that expression. There was one instance where I had a group of homeschool children who came in and they recited for me as a group the soliloquy of Mark Antony at the death of Caesar. And they had won an award for it, and they wanted to show me what they had done. And it was just amazing because I didn't do anything, but they did this amazing thing. And I was there to just, I don't know, like magnify it just by being William Shakespeare.
Would you say it's difficult to play a historical character instead of just some character that you've made up?
It is incredibly difficult sometimes to play a historical character because everyone has their own idea of what the historical character was like. Everyone has a picture of William Shakespeare in their mind, and it's my job to either magnify that or destroy that. And so what I know, and sometimes I don't have a choice about which one of those I do. So I have to craft my picture of William Shakespeare and then present that strong enough that people go, oh, that's William Shakespeare there, okay. I have played a character that was of my own creation before. That character was actually Shakespeare, and I was a bad children's storyteller. I would write stories and just abuse every writing convention. I made them long, I made them redundant, I made them repetitive, and so I created that character myself, and I created that character to be less intelligent. And then suddenly I'm asked to play this character that is considered brilliant and a great person. And so I do have to say, to sum up, yes, it is challenging to do a historical character because everyone has their own picture of who that person is.
So how much Shakespeare have you memorized? Like, do you know all the famous monologues and you can just spout those off at people?
Well, luckily for me, I chose to actually go with a time early in Shakespeare's career. I actually play my character as though it were 1594, even though our year is actually 1569. So I chose the year 1594 because Romeo and Juliet had just been written and performed, working on Midsummer Night's Dream. And so that gives me a much smaller chunk that I actually have to worry about. I do enjoy lots of Shakespeare, and so I carry around a book with my favorite sonnets so that I could break those out at any moment. And I do have a couple things, well, they were memorized, but then our season didn't happen. And so I'd have to polish those back up. But I do keep a couple soliloquies ready to go, usually a book of sonnets that I read and actually perform in the street. I don't have a lot memorized, but I do add a little bit each year.
Nobody would have expected the real Shakespeare to have these things memorized.
They expect an actor.
Yes. So do you have any acting advice for the kids who might be interested in taking up something like this?
Well, I do, and for me, it does go to all of the experience that I have collectively, and the big thing for me is to have a physical thing that separates David from Shakespeare. And for me, it's the outfits. These clothes fit completely differently than my normal clothes do. And I actually usually keep 2 wooden daggers in my belt for a game that I play with patrons, and that completely changes the way I walk. So right there, physically, I've already become Shakespeare. And so at that point, it's just putting the voice on and remembering what I wrote down.
Excellent. Well, David, thank you so much for talking with us today. And for those of you who are watching along at home, if you want to read more Shakespeare, we've got those books at the library. We can help you out. We've got them in digital format. We've got the movie versions of our favorite plays, Much Ado About Nothing. And if you want to make a reservation, you can just log on with your library card, or you can call our help desk at 549-READ. So thank you once again to David, to William Shakespeare, for talking with us today.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
All right. Good night, everybody.